Sure. So you're asking more about the extracting part?
Yeah.
Like after the compost is finished?
Yeah.
Okay. I can run over mine. It's really quite simple. I literally take a 50-pound mesh bag, which is the kind you see your onions in the store. I shovel it full at the compost pile, and we have a cone bottom tank, but it's wide open at the top. So I hang it by a string in the water, and we bubble with a big blower through the bottom. That's it. I just let it bubble 10, 20 minutes, turn off the air, take the bag out if you want, and there's not usually that much left in it, and then I just let it settle for 5-10 minutes, and that means that probably 80-90% of the particulates in the water settle to the bottom, and then we just I lift up that whole tank with a forklift, and then we just gravity out from above the cone. So you leave that cone and the settled stuff alone, and you gravity the extract out above it through the filter bag. That's it. That's as simple as mine is, on a smaller scale.
What are yours?
I don't have it.
You don't have one?
I don't have
Oh,
anything.
Justin.
It's pretty same.
Okay. Bag from the top. It would hold more, I'd be able to do more compost because it's a bigger volume. And then I had 3 of those larger disc blowers at the bottom. And basically, yeah, like half an hour, it would scrub it out. And then basically, I'd shut the pump. Well, sometimes I'd shut the pump off, sometimes I wouldn't, depends if you're in a hurry. And then through the hydrocyclone, and then out into another tank, refill, and within 20 minutes, you're done again, right? So 1,000 gallons in an hour. So hopefully, makes sense?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep, no problem.
Any of the 4 you plan on using the radionics equipment? And what do you think it would benefit you?
At the moment, I'm tapped out on information and new technology for this next year. But it's something I'm gonna look at in the future.
I would say the same thing. Really interested in it, but I'm just careful how much stuff I put in here. I've listened to him before, and I think it's really neat. Something that we could use, but not right now. And it is.
Yeah, I have been using it a bit for about 3 years on kind of a maybe small scale, whatever I kind of understood about it, what it could do there, which is basically either taking a leaf sample and analyzing it, or a soil sample and analyzing it, or kind of developing a recipe from ingredients. So basically taking test tubes of different soil amendments that I might have and trying them together to make a potting soil mix. So that's basically the extent of what I've done.
We have not used any radionics yet. Intrigued, asking questions, and wanting to take the course.
Any thoughts on like our, back to the cover crops, swath graze, not cover crops, this is not really covered as we just learned, but not applying that fall seed in the fall because you got a swath that's in the way. It's a pain in the ass, so you just do it in the spring. Have you done it that way, or any thoughts about that? So again, not the fall, typically as you would do as a grain producer, but putting that sweet in the spring instead.
So leaving it over winter.
Yeah, well, your swath grazing, the swaths are in the way
I think it needs no
to get it
fall
on
program.
in the fall.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So you're stuck putting it on in the spring. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we don't. On our gray wooded soil, we have to stay off of it, even if we get the Chinooks coming in the wintertime and the field turns to mud, it just completely compacts that soil. And so, while we go in the spring, seems dry, it'll completely compact it. And so we've learned to just stay off of it, because if you think you're getting an advantage, you can easily lose anything you've gained just by that grazing cattle on there. That's why we keep them on sod, like old sod in the spring in particular.
I'm actually thinking of applying the GSR.
The
The fall
GS
amendments.
like
You can't get out there because your swaths are in the way.
Oh, I
Properly
can,
spray,
yeah.
and then put it on in the spring instead.
We do. We put ours on in the spring because I'm so far behind in the fall. You know, out west, we're combining late, and then we got a lot of cattle work to do, and it starts freezing, and we're panicking trying to get spraying done. And so we don't get it done, and so I asked Greg, can we do this in the spring? Oh, yeah. It used to be not really recommended, but now we've done it in the spring, and it's just been fine.
You don't see any difference then?
No, don't see any difference. And I have, you know, same time problem in the spring, though.
Okay, some question?
Just wondering about mixing your in-furrow liquids. What kind of tips have you guys found to avoid? Sounds like the fish hydrolysates are a real bear to deal with, so wondering what your tips are there.
My boy does, David does a lot of the mixing, and so we have just a really strict process that we use. We don't have too much trouble with the fish. We just get it circulating in the tank. I have some totes with wide lids at the top, so a sump pump will fit down in there. And I put the sump pump down in there and then just bring the hose back and back down into the tank, and that mixes it really well. We use that big mixer that we have from Mike that I showed you, that's in a tote, and then we also mix in the big tank. The problem is if it just sits there too long and it starts to settle. So if we put our in-row in the front tank on the cat, and then we end up with it raining, or we don't have enough, we can't get it out of there, we'll actually pump it back into one of the tanks that we can mix, so that if it does settle out, we can get it mixed again. You don't want it to settle in one of those tanks where you can't get it out. We also learned in spray booms to put I think we ran, it was a 1/2-inch line from the end of the boom back to the tank, so that we got flow through the booms, and that helped a lot. Because that product in the line doesn't really move. Like, you think it just goes through the line. It just kind of goes in there and sits, and then pretty soon, if you could look through the line, there's like a layer of this sediment in there, and so you got to keep it moving through. And then we just put a shut off on that return line so that we could keep the pressure up. We could control our pressure through that line.
For mine, it was the fish again and the kelp. But so 2 years ago, I think it was Gen 1 that there wasn't any issues because the biology was where it was at, right? Nothing really grabbed, didn't really have any plugging issues. The system that I use is an Alpine system. It's a very small orifices set up for max 10 gallons of an acre on 65 rows going 6.5 mile an hour. So very, very low flows, right? Last year, it's just with bigger biology, it just plugged everything up. So once I got rid of the kelp and the fish, there was no issues with it. So I'm gonna upsize everything this coming year, but I'll keep the fish out because otherwise me, the tractor, everything just smells like your lunch, it smells like fish all the time, right? So, yeah.
I suppose I just learned what they were doing just to eliminate some of our issues, not using any fish. Craig gave us pretty, I wouldn't say a simple recipe, but a recipe that was proven to work.
I have one comment to add about mixing fish. I mix a lot of fish. We just don't do much for in-furrow, but we just weld a mixer out of a piece of rebar and use a cordless drill. And you can leave that mixer, if you make it the right size, you can leave it right in the tank. You just put your chuck on and stand on the tote and give it a really good mix, and then you spin it off and you leave that in. Just clean, quick, no pumping, no hoses, just, I like it. Sorry.
You like fish?
Actually, I will talk. I really like fish, what it does for us. I hate the smell, but I think it's a really good product. And so I've tried to figure out how I can use it. So we use the 2 gallons of fish in our in-row. And I've set the in-row, like put that together so I can use the fish. That's why we went that way.
I'm not also maybe the right guy to talk on it as much, but we don't do a lot of acres, but we do quite a bit of foliars, and I'm a big believer in more water, because we foliar spray at 50 gallons an acre, and I know that sounds crazy, but we're doing veggies and it's all high value, but I really, really strongly believe in more water, because the water is a carrier, there's just more things happening.
One thing that we do is cycle the toted fish through the pump and back into the tote and have a filter on there. And we found that really helped us. And I think suppliers have maybe changed since we started, and the product seems to go through a lot better. We really like it for the product to use.
With our Poly West system, with those little pots, we don't have a filter in our system at all anymore. You know, as long as you're not putting garbage in the mix, we don't have any plugging problems, because that orifice is quite large. And as long as we clean it out at the end of the day, like run fresh water through it, it stays clean, like it stays unplugged. But if you let it sit, you kind of jello comes in there, then you have a heck of a time getting it out.
And we don't clean ours out at the end of the day. It seems to stay good throughout seasons.
Okay, just a comment on the Patterson distribution kit. Since we did our presentation this morning, there's been a bit of information that has come up. I'm going to follow up on that. But there might be a little bit that we can do to tweak those systems to make them less problematic. So, this is for Bryan. How many gallons of big compost are you planning on spraying on your field?
Sorry. What was the last part?
Like how many gallons would you be aiming for? Are you planning to do more per acre or?
Yeah, so this year I'm gonna start doing slurry, like physical compost on as well. So like I was with the foliar applied extract and in furrow and all that stuff, probably depends on how ambitious I get, 150 gallons. Only because I'm gonna slurry on 2 ton an acre at 50 gallons. So is my whole thing, because I took all my straw off last year, you know, for pigs, so might as well pull all the straw while it's good high brick straw and everything. And then I made a commitment to myself that I'd put physical compost back on. So that's where it's all geared to getting more on. Not the chemical more on, but yeah. But well, not you, but yeah, it's hopefully, but it's like anything. You get wore out after a while, like you back in the sprayer again, and it's like another 20 gallons, and like the system kind of wears on you, but shooting for more, but we'll see.
Any other questions? Thanks so much, guys, for imparting your knowledge that you've learned. I know I've learned a lot through you guys as well, just in how to deal and how to handle this stuff. So thank you so much.